Today I've been asked to give a talk about our recent work on high resolution cryo-EM of membrane protein complexes. These are the two things that I find most fascinating in scientific life is cryo-EM, high resolution cryo-EM. How can you get really good structures without crystals? That's one thing. And membrane proteins have been kind of a passion, if you will, for ever since my PhD came. So this is our main scientific quest, is to apply cryo-EM to work out how membrane proteins, what they look like, if possible in atomic detail, and from that, how do they work? So that will be my talk today. I'll give you a quick outline. And I should say now, please, we are all together, so please, interrupt me, ask questions. Don't worry if there's anything you want is not clear or you want me to explain in more detail. Please do interrupt, do stop me, and try my best. So outline. I'll first give you a background of high resolution EM, where we are today, and what's limiting us. There's still quite a few limitations, which we'll talk about briefly. Then I go into the membrane protein complexes, starting with the chloroplast synthase we published last year, and then work from this year. This is single particle cryo-EM. This is thermography. MGM1, which is a membrane scaffolding protein that shapes mitochondria and is involved in mitochondrial fission and fusion. And then a few words about the spirit chain complexes, and the main part will be our recent work on mitochondrial ATP synthase. Right. So, high resolution cryo-EM. What is it? What do you do? What do you need? How far can you get, and what limits us? So this was really the starting point already 5 years ago in 2014, when Science asked me to write a commentary on the first few structures that were coming out at the time. It really started in 2013, and then I think this one was in 2014, this one was in 2013. This is a tricky one-channel an ion channel membrane protein. This is a large subunit of the mitochondrial ribosome, and this is our own multi-enzyme complex called MRH, and I'll tell you more about it in a minute. So what they all had in common is they achieved resolution between 3.2 and 3.4 angstroms, and this was without crystals. And at the time, this was pretty much a revolution, and this has become a catchphrase in the field, revolution. And never do anything else. This is to be associated with my name, for better or for worse, for eternity. So this. So what did it take to get there? There's two things mainly. It's apart from the instruments, the microscopes themselves, which have to fulfill certain requirements. They have to be very stable. They have to be mechanically stable, also optically stable. And it helps if they're automated. But the main deciding factor in triggering this revolution was a new generation of cameras. They're direct electron detectors, and that took about 10 years to develop. And they really are, they're very, very important in achieving the aims that we have. And equally important is a new set of new software algorithms. If you work in this field, if you're interested, you probably all know them, and they have been a massive contribution to maximum likelihood image processing to really get the most out of these images, which you can record with these new cameras. So together, have really brought about this revolution. So. And this to give you a bit of a taste of this. So this is one thing that has limited us for many years. Before we had these new cameras, was beam-induced movement. I'll say quite a bit more about it. But this is when you Until then, all you could do is record an image, usually on a piece of film, because CCD cameras are not good enough at high resolution, so it's usually a piece of film. And then when you expose a specimen, this is the FRH complex, you can see here the edge of the contact film hole, and this is a thin layer of maybe 100 nanometer or less, 30 nanometer layer of vitrified water. So it's very, very thin. It's as thin as a soap bubble, basically. And you have it spanning these holes in a carbon foil, and when you hit it with electrons, things move. So this is what we call beam-induced movement. And well, if you're a crystallographer, and I think many of you here are, at least know about crystallography, so that means this is the Fourier transform of the image, and if you have movement, then you get a good resolution in one direction, but you get very poor resolution in the direction perpendicular to the movement. So this is what happened, and we used to throw out 95% of the images that we took because they were suffering from this effect of the specimen move while exposed. And these new cameras, not only are they very much more sensitive, they're also faster. So instead of recording a single image on film or on a CCD camera, which you never really use, or on film, you record what we call movies. So different frames, and then in the end you have all the frames, and then you get an image such as this one. And what that allows you to do is to correct for the movement that the electron beam causes. So taking 3 of these particles and recording their track, how they move on an angstrom scale. So these are both in angstroms in X and Y, and so these movements are, they get progressively better, but the first one the worse, because when you first hit the sample, so it moves by, in this case, about 1.5 angstroms or more, and then it gets better and settles down. So that's so it's a pity, but not so bad. Doesn't look so bad. These movements are quite small. Do you really need to worry about them? The question and the answer is yes, you do, for 2 reasons. First of all, it's the first frames of the movement that are the most precious. That's where the sample has not been damaged, and that's where most of the information gets lost, as I will show you in a minute. The other is that, of course, if you want, say, if you want a 2 angstrom structure, then your specimen is not allowed to move by more than less than an angstrom. Otherwise, you can't even get it. You can't get it. So this is these are the 2 reasons why this beam-induced movement is a problem. If you can compare the frames of the movie, that will tell you how much each particle has moved, and then you can correct for that in the computer and add them all up to almost perfect image. When you transform that, it's a motion corrected image, then you get good resolution in all directions. And so that's what we do as a matter of routine these days. So this is actually a film image. This was recorded a long time ago. It's a film image, but it's the same sample. It's a FRH complex, which we're not really interested in it as a biological structure, even though it's an important one. But we use it as a test specimen, basically, because it's nice, it's like a tiny virus. It's a spherical like the football, and it has dodecahedral symmetry, so it's easy to average large numbers of asymmetric units, and you can get quite good resolution. So what you do, and you all know this, you sort of select a number of these initially by hand. Eventually it's done automatically, and then they're averaged in the computer, and they're put together in what we call class averages here, and then we reproject them and see how well it's done by comparing the projections to what you actually see in the image. So this is was even a standard process before these new cameras came along, but it's now much more powerful because you can correct for this beam-induced movement. Right. So and then you put all these projections together. Then you get a 3-dimensional map. And this is the map we published at that time. That was one of these maps that triggered that article. And it's quite a nice map. It's 3.4 angstroms. What I will say, and I'll show you later, this, if you're a crystallographer, streetlight angstrom doesn't sound very exciting, because actually it's a very good streetlight angstrom. And you can see most side chains, you can see HEDCs very nicely. So because the phases are determined directly in the end, they are read out of the image. So you don't need any devious means such as isomorph replacement or indirect methods to determine the phases. The phases are determined directly and they are very high quality, and that's why the maps are very clear. So even a 3.4 angstrom map you can interpret directly in terms of primary structure of protein sequence. So that was quite nice, published, but Derek Mills, who's behind this in Planck, they're not easy piece, so they wanted to do better, and then about a year and a half ago, by collecting more particles and using a better camera, which is very important, they got to about 2.7 angstroms, and now you can see it. It's clearer, you can see the side chains better, still see the heat is quite nicely, of course. And again, they weren't happy with that. This is how far can we push this? And just by the simple expedient of halving the pixel size. So this is a 1 angstrom pixel, and the pixel is on the camera. It's hardwired. It's a silicon chip. It has pixels of a certain size. But then, if you increase the magnification, means your pixels sample the structure more finely, and in effect, then have instead of a 1 angstrom pixel, you have a half angstrom pixel. And it's intuitively obvious if you have smaller pixels, you can follow the cosine fringes that build up this structure more finely, and therefore you can get to the high resolution where you get better data at high resolution. So this is a smaller pixel size, a lot more particles, and you get a much better V factor, and then you have a structure. It's not so easy to see now because there's so much detail. The eye doesn't take it in, but you can begin to see these cofactors that shine through the holes between the residues here. But if you now again turn it, and it's a dodecima of these 12 heterotrimers. It's no longer easy to see the helices, but they're of course still there. But there's still too much detail. And you need to then look at things to focus in on, for instance, this nickel ion center. This is what the protein does. It's a hydrogen transfer rate. It takes electrons from molecular hydrogen and transfers them to this cofactor, which is important for methanogenesis. So this is really a protein that regenerates methane-producing complexes. So that's what it does. And it has a series of these 4 iron sulfur clusters. It has a nickel ion center, and it has a number of FAD cofactor, and then this F420. These are organic cofactors. And you can see them all quite nicely. But I'll show you this nickel ion center, and here it is. Here's the nickel, there's the iron, and this is now in the 2 angstrom map. And you can see the metal centers very nicely. You can all see the ligands. So these are carbon monoxide and cyanide ions. There's the carbon monoxide, these are 2 cyanides, and this is a cysteine SH group coordinating this ion, and there's the nickel. And so this is really looking like a really nice high resolution X-ray structure. And if you compare it to, and we have an X-ray structure not from our own lab, but from Uli Amler's group, who is now in the department at the Institute. And if you compare it to the X-ray structure, 1.7 angstrom X-ray structure, you see it really is very, very similar. So that tells you a 2 angstrom EM structure is every bit as good as a 1.7 angstrom X-ray structure. And that's for the reason that I told you before. Phases are better, the maps are clearer, they're easier to interpret. You can see the holes in the tyrosine rings there, you can see all the bound water molecules, you can see the cofactors by coordinate this magnesium here, or the iron, or shown. Yes.
The 2 angstrom resolution of cryo-EM general in all structure, or does it have the parts where it's higher and lower?
Well, in this case, since it's a spherical structure, and it's very uniform. It's very uniform. There's no, of course, always you have slightly less good resolution on the outside, but it's quite a rigid little sphere, and that's why we use it. But there are other examples I'll show you later, where indeed you have low resolution and it's very different and more flexible parts then. But this is why it's a good test specimen. It's a fairly rigid, ball basically, right? So it's pretty much of this quality right through. Yeah, right. So there we go. So what's limiting us? Why can't we do this every time? And why? What does it take to do this more routinely? This took a number of years. From the first publication, 2014, 5 years ago, to now 2 angstroms. So that's 1.4 angstrom in 5 years. It's not a great rate of progress, but of course we are finding out lots of things. So one frequent problem is that of course, if you want a map that's good resolution in all directions, your particles must be randomly oriented. Otherwise, you have a preferential orientation. You have some views that are more pronounced than others, and then you don't get a good uniform resolution in all directions. So that's obviously another problem if you have a spherical particle. That's another good reason why this is a good test specimen. But most particles will adhere probably either to the air-water interface or to the carbon support film. Then you have preferential orientation. That can be a very nasty problem, and there's no easy method of solving it. Related to that is denaturation at the air-water interface. This could affect any sample, but it doesn't have to affect this one that I've just shown you. It affects lots of others. This is something we are working at, and other labs are working at, because the air-water interface is a very nasty place if you're a protein, because air is hydrophobic, water is hydrophilic. At the interface, we have these forces which tend to rip your protein apart. And if you have large, sensitive complexes, usually they are damaged or completely in nature at the air-water interface. And that's one reason why you need such large numbers of particles. So if you look at publications, you often have 1 million, 2 million particles. If you look how many actually contribute to the final structure, it's usually around 10% or even less. And this is the reason. The rest gets denatured. So it's important to sort that out, and we're working on that, but I won't talk about it today. Beam-induced movement, we've already talked about, and I'll show you a little bit more. And then the ultimate limit, and there's nothing we can do about it because it's a law of physics, it's radiation damage. So if you radiate electrons or indeed any ionizing radiation onto a biological molecule, you damage it. There's nothing you can do about it. The best we can hope is to collect many images and then average, and then hopefully the damage will average out.
Werner.
Yes.
Sorry. Regarding the preferential orientation,
yes.
if you don't have a spherical particle, is there any way to polarize the slide so
to polarize it to make
some preferential orientation?
Yeah, the best thing you can hope for is to make it go away. And this is
I hadn't
of course
the opposite.
By its very nature, that's not a standard. It's not a routine thing, because it doesn't. If it works in one case, then it works for another. Because proteins have different reasons for adhering to surfaces. And this can be quite insidious, and there's no patent method. You just have to play around and try various tricks you can try, and quite often one will work. You can spread detergents or certain substances on the surface to make them less hostile, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So radiation damage is most easily measured by diffractions. So what we do is think about, we don't have crystals, we did away with crystals, we're very glad, we don't need crystals anymore, but if you want to measure radiation damage, it's easiest to do diffraction. So this is a diffraction pattern given to me by Richard Henderson, who was my mentor in Cambridge, and this is remember the close colleague ever since. So this is a diffraction pattern of a two-dimensional crystal of heterodoxin. And the great thing about diffraction is that you have distinct values for the intensity of these spots, and you can then follow how they fade when you irradiate the 2D crystal with electrons. And when you do that, this is what you find. So you have this is a bit of a complicated slide, but let's focus on these red lines. This is 3 anti-resolution spots. These are the highest resolution spots you can see here, and they fade, as you would expect, as you irradiate the sample with electrons. So this is the electron dose, 2, 4, 6, 8, and this is the diffraction spot intensity. And this would be so one frame is about 1.3 electrons per square angstrom. This is what you typically dose for one frame of these movies. You record 40 frame movies, and this is the first frame, second frame, third frame, fourth frame, and so forth. By the time you reach the fourth frame, you're down here at 19 temperature. You're down here at 1% of the information. The rest has been destroyed. So this is really quite shocking. And but there's nothing. This is another reason, another main reason why we need such huge numbers of particles to overcome this radiation damage. So yeah, this is 1%. Within the first 5 or 6 electrons, you destroy 99% of the signal by radiation damage. This is the hard limit for cryo-EM. So, what can we do about it? We can try to record the first frames and use them, because that's where the sample is pristine, hasn't been damaged. So that would be great if we do that. So we tried that, and we've tried it at both temperatures, liquid nitrogen and liquid helium temperature. And this is a paper that's just come out a couple of weeks ago. It's a master's student, Olivia Pyle-Gardner, and she's looked at another test sample, which is apoferritin. Apoferritin is now used by most labs, and she traced the movement at these two temperatures, liquid nitrogen temperature and liquid helium temperature. And to our amazement, it's a lot worse with liquid helium, because for reasons which we can discuss, but we don't fully understand. But it's still quite bad with liquid nitrogen. So the movements here are, at least twice as high as after the thing is settled down. So the first 2 frames, which are the most precious, are degraded by movement. So this is something. If you could solve this problem, then we would need many fewer particles to get as good results. And we're working on that, but again, I won't have time to talk about that today. So these are ongoing projects, and they are fundamentally important. As the radiation damage and being used movement. Right, so let's now talk about the first of these. Yes?
Can't you just change the grids? Use more grids?
Well, we only record one image of each particle. So the grid doesn't really help, because you only get one image. So on the same grid, another grid makes no difference. It's just a single image of each particle, but it's 40 frames, which are then added up. Why don't you only use the first frame? Well, for the reason that I just showed you, it's the least good, because it moves most. If you could solve that problem, then you could collect lots of first frames and average them. That's what we're working on, but still the limiting factor is the movement. So chloroplast synthase, the large complex, is essential in chloroplast. It converts perfect gradient into fixes in the form of ATP. So it's really the basis of all photosynthesis, and photosynthetic production of ATP is really the basis of all higher life on this planet. So it's a very important molecule. And until recently, we didn't know much about the structure. because you can isolate it in large quantities, and there's a lot of it. So this is a tomographic volume which is colored in artificial color. So every little yellow sphere is the F1 head of an ATP synthase, and these are the thylakoid stacks in green, and the external membranes connecting. So this is where the ATP synthase sits. And but there was no hydrogen structure of it because it doesn't crystallize. When you try to crystallize it, it falls apart. And also, not only that, but it's in many different conformations, as you will see, and that doesn't help when you want to crystallize something. They all have to be the same. All the molecules have to be the same. This is by definition not the case with the ATP synthase, because they do their job by rotary catalysis, so it means they have different rotary states, and that's bad news for crystallization. That's only one problem. The other problem is they're just not stable, and if you crystallize them, you fall apart. Many people have tried, and many people have failed over the last 4 decades. So this is really a cryo-EM is essential. If you want to know what these things look like, how they work, as a total complex, an intact complex, this is your best bet. So this is Alex Hahn, who took this project. This is a picture taken, I think, 2015 roughly, and he got himself some spinach from the local market, and this full of chloroplasts, and chloroplasts are full of ATP synthase. And you can isolate it, and he has shown that it's very pure, and that it's active, which is not straightforward, but he showed it's active, and then this is now the cryo-EM image. This is the micrograph. You can't see the molecules very easily. Every now and again you can see a bit of a side, you have the membrane part, which is a bit of a lipid bilayer, but you wouldn't recognize these easily, but the computer recognizes them, and then you can collect them all, and then you can sort them into classes. These are what we call class averages, and if you're used to looking at these, and even if not, you can see the F1 head, the catalytic head, and here in the membrane, the rotor that actually converts the proton gradient into rotation. And if you can't see it very well here, but in the really good class average, you can see these thin white lines. These are single atom indices, basically. This is perfect slope. This is in the rotor. You see. So this is as I told you earlier. So we have a lot of these are in one state, 85% are again, and they separate by simple comparison. And this is what computer programs do now very well, by having a template and then comparing each of these and then see does it fit this one or this one or this one. Then you sort them into classes, and then that gives you can then tell what the solution is from these FSC curves, and the overall for this is 3.1 angstroms, but if you divide it into the F1 head, which is more rigid, it's a bit like our FRH complex, and the rotor in the membrane and the membrane part, you get a slightly worse resolution. And this is the great thing about cryo-EM. So you can separate things and look and analyze them separately. So you have what it's not. This was the earlier question. So it's not the same resolution for the whole complex, but it's better in some parts than the other. And it's in the more rigid part, it's better. In the more flexible parts, it's less good. Right. So this is the map, and it's a map. It's not a model. So you can again see each amino acid in the F1 head. You can see different nucleotides, ATP and ADP. And one thing I want to address while this slide is up, so what Alex has done here, he's taken the complex and put it into what we call lipid nanoglyphs. So lipid nanoglyphs are created around the membrane part of a membrane protein by this so-called scaffold protein, MSP, membrane scaffold protein. You can make them in any size you like. And then they wrap themselves around the hydrophobic part of the protein, and they trap lipids there. And that's it's really like a mini membrane within this nanoglyph. And it's good for membrane protein. They like it because it makes them think they're still in the membrane. And this is the same thing in detergent, and it's much less well defined. And this helps to give you better resolution. And for some reason, there's always two of them. They always form this double belt around the hydrophobic. So around the most hydrophobic part. So this is less hydrophobic, this is most hydrophobic, and that's where the scattered protein sits. And this is, as I showed you, the nucleotides, the ATP and the ADP. They're both ADPs, as it turns out, because the ATP was hydrolyzed during isolation. You know this is the ATP site from the arginine finger here, from the position of this arginine, which is a particular confirmation in the ATP binding site, and the ATP site has changed. And this is how we know one is the other. If you can resolve the magnesium, you resolve the H2O, the water molecules, even though this is not quite such high, this is 2.9 atoms, but still you can see water, you can see magnesium, which is quite nice. This is the so-called subunit delta. It's a very important part. It holds it links the F1 head here to the rotor in the membrane via this long, flexible peripheral stalk. And you'll see a lot more about that in with the chloroplast synthesis. So these are the three rotor states, and they're like stills in a movie, and you can put them together. That gives you a movie of the synthase. This is, of course, a morph of the different rotor states. This is how it works, and it's driven by the protein gradient that protonates, as you will see in a minute, the glutamates here in the rotor, which are protonated and then become less hydrophilic, and they partition to the membrane, and this drives rotation. And rotation is transmitted by this blue central stalk to the catalytic units here, which is the F1 head that actually makes the ATP from ATP and phosphate. Right. Okay, so now for the remainder of the talk, we'll move to mitochondrial membrane protein complexes. So this is a textbook image of a mitochondrion, and you have the cristae, which you all know about, the spiritual chain, and here at the tips is the epicenter. It is drawn as a diamond. It's drawn as a diamond because this is drawn by me. It's the first textbook that has this arrangement of the synthase in the schematic of the mitochondria. It's a completely general feature, it's a fundamental feature. But so this generates the curvature at the crystal ridges, if you will, and there's other proteins that generate the opposite curvature, and they're called mucus and UPA, and we are studying this together with a group in Berlin. And let's tell you briefly what we found out. So this was published a couple of months ago in Nature, and so this is what MGM1, it's called MGM1 in yeast and UPA1 in mammals or plants. So it's a mitochondrial it's a mitochondrial mechanochemical GTP. So it hydrolyzes GTP to shape the membrane, and it can either just work as a scaffold, or it can have roles in fusion or scission. And there are three different roles, and we don't know how it does that. This is something we want to find out in the future. This is a pictorial representation set to me by Olli Daum. He's a collaboration partner in Berlin. So how can the same protein do all these different things? So this is a scaffolding function, which is fairly easy to understand, and but the other two functions in fusion or scission we don't really understand it. But it's a mechanochemical GTP. It forms kind of filaments, and as it hydrolyzes GTP, it can exert force on the membrane. Right. So this is the structure of dynamo, which is related, and this is the structure of MGM1 at the site of resolution. You can see they're the same basic fold. You have this is the GTP ACE domain. This is a kind of a stalk domain, and this is the pattern. This is how it attaches to the membrane. And this was the X-ray structure. It's very nice. And just while they were doing that, we got together with them, and this is the tetramer as it exists in the mitochondria, and it's similar to the dynamic tetramer. And these tetramers arrange themselves around lipid tubes, or the actual tubulate membranes. And what you see here is a preformed lipid tube, and around it are these filaments of MGM1. And you can do tomography on that, so there's a topographic study. You This is the volume, subthermal volume, and then you already see these knobs here and these extended densities can fit the X-ray structure. This is what Leah Leach has done here. She's a student, she's third year, she's an excellent student and has done this pretty much single-handedly. And you can see it fits very nicely, and it sits around this convex linear curvature. That's all great, but it's on the wrong side. If you want, if the crystal, the curvature is the opposite, and we need to have it on the other side. Leah, being a clever student, she looked at these very hard. She found that sometimes the decoration was on the inside, and she found a way of encouraging that by sonicating the little tubes, so to break them and the pressure went inside. Then what you have a lattice forming on the inside of the tubes. And now it's on the right side for what you have in Monte Carlo crystal. The same thing. This is subthermal average. This is the fitted X-ray structure, and now the GTP estimates are in opposition, so that you can. We still don't know how it works, but you can see how it can work. You know, by hybridizing GTP, it creates a force, and that can then shape or change the shape of the membrane. So and this is a movie that Ollie sent me to show you how he thinks it works. So these are the dimers arranging themselves into these filaments around this lipid tubule. So here they come flying in, and then they form these long helical arrays around the outside of the tube. And then this bit is fancy. We don't know that happens yet, but this is what happens with dynamics, right? And this is something you need to look at, and will look at. And here is so that was causing expansion that we just showed started again. So depending on the handedness of the helix, you can either get membrane constriction or expansion. So this is, I think, the first one where you get the power stroke here, and then you get it pulls it apart. I said this is all. It's all a movie. It's a model. It's not really data. This is the opposite now, with the handedness of the helix is inverted. And now the same thing happens, power stroke, and then you get pulls it together, you get constriction. And the same thing can happen at the inside of the tube, which is the situation we're more interested in, really. If you, again, depending on the handedness of the helix, this is one handedness, you have the filaments forming on the inside, and then you have a power stroke, and then you get a constriction. And in the opposite case, you have, again, the opposite handedness, form these filaments, power stroke, and then it expands. So depending on how it's arranged on the membrane, whether it's on the inside or the outside, you can get either constriction or expansion. So that's the model, and now we need to fill this with real data, and that's something that will keep us quite busy. Right, I need to move on. Mitochondrial complex 1, I just move through this very quickly. This is, you all know, the respiratory chain. Complex 1 is the first, pumps most of the protons, so that can convert by the ATP synthase into ATP. And we have this is just, I think, it's probably now available online, maybe since last week, the 3.2 angstrom structure of a yeast, complex 1, and all these 43 subunits, and lipids, which we were particularly interested in. I won't go into every detail, but the lipids structure is quite interesting. So this is the 3D map. Again, it's a very good quality map, 3.2 angstrom. You can see every side chain. You can fit, you can build the whole model with great confidence. And this is now the quinol binding site here, and the quinol sits in the pocket, and it needs to pick up electrons from this wire. A very interesting question. So you have to. So this is the complex 1 structure, and this is some of the lipids around the membrane are. There's 5 cardiolipins here. We knew cardiolipin was there, it's important, and now we can see where they are. And the most interesting part about the lipid is it forms a mini membrane or half membrane up here, where this is the last iron sulfur cluster. and this is kind of a cluster of lipids which is 10 angstroms above the membrane layer. So there's always been a mystery how the quinol gets up. It needs to jump, about 20 angstroms from here to there, 20 angstroms. This is quite a distance. But now it has its own little private lipid environment there, so it doesn't need to jump quite so far. It only needs to go 10 angstroms. So that's probably one secret of how electron transfer works in complex life. Right.
It's just cardiolipid.
No, these are all sorts. The cardiolipids were pointed out here because they're nice and they have these 4 acyl chains here.
What happens to the rest of the membrane? Is the membrane bent there? Is it just fatter there? How do those lipids?
Good question. I don't think it's fatter. It's just this would be the bilayer, and the patch you're looking at is here. So it's not really part of the membrane. It's put there by the complex interaction. Really. Yeah.
But it's pretty expensive, right, to pull those lipids out.
Well, it depends on the probe environment. I think. Yeah. If the probe environment is right, it's not that expensive. Right. Okay. So that's very nice. I just have to put in a couple of slides about the alternative complex 3 because this was Pereira, who is not here anymore. I gather, but we had this very nice collaboration with her, with Joanna Souza, who was a student who I hijacked from this place, a number of years ago, and she's now an ace cryo-EM specialist. She is doing a postdoc at the Crick in London, and she got this structure of the bacterial alternative complex 3. You know more about it than I do, probably from Manuela, but anyway, this is the structure. It's not quite as high resolution as what you see, it's about 3.9, but still good enough to resolve side chains and subunits. And you can see the bound cofactors, the heme wire, and then again the iron sulfur cluster wire. That's how electron transfer happens. I won't go into all this. Was published in Nature Communications last year. Joanna's first author, and Manuela has last year with Jared Fonk, who did a lot of the supervision and image processing. Right, so let me just in the last minute talk about the mitochondrial synthase. I have to cut this short, but we have further discussion. So this is the one that A produces ATP, but also it produces membrane curvature and creates the crystal. And we know this because this is a tomogram of a whole small mitochondrion. As you can see, in the tomograph volume, you see these rows of densities, and if you look carefully, some of them are arranged in dimers, or all of them are arranged in dimers actually. And so dimers run along these ridges, highly curved ridges of the crystal. And this is a completely general feature of all mitochondria. It's not always the same. Sometimes they're helical, sometimes they are disc-like here, but there's always rows of ATP synthase dimers involved. And you can isolate these and then reconstitute them with lipids. And this is a liposome, and there's another little liposome inside, and it doesn't contain any protein. But here next to it is one that's completely studded with these dimers, and they arrange themselves in the same way as in the crystal. So they form dimer rows around the edge. And if you have several of them, they form these tubes. And this is really a self-organizing principle of the ATP synthase dimer in mitochondria. You can isolate them and purify them. You can show they're active. This is the activity assay, which was published already 4 years ago in the first paper. This is so it's not only intact, it's active. And this is something, again, it eludes crystallography because you can only crystallize parts, and then by definition, it's more active. So these are active complexes, and this is again the micrograph. They're not so easy to see, they're dimers, but they're good micrographs, and we can get a lot of them. In this case, was 700,000. And Bonnie Murphy processed these, and she's a real ace processor now. She started 2.5 years ago from scratch, didn't know anything, any cryo-EM, and she's now become a real ace image processor and also imager. So again, the resolution is not isotropic, but in the best part, it's 2.7 angstroms. And what the most amazing thing she has divided this, classified this into 13 different substates. So in chloroplasts I showed you 3, now we have 13. and not all at top resolution, but pretty good, between 2.9 and 3 point something, so easily good enough to fit the polypeptide chain. This is the model, the map. It's not a model, it's a map, and this is a kind of a computer. It's a Peter's question: how do you know which is which? Well, you fit the sequence. And in this case, wasn't so. It was easy for the F1 part and the rig because they're always the same in every synthase in the world. But what wasn't so easy was this peripheral store, which is different, is unique, and there was no real precedent for it. And most of the subunits were known, but not all of them. We found a new one here, this red one. I'll show you in a little while. So it's called ASA10. And this is the model, so it's 1.6 megavolts for the dimer. And this ASA10 here, we fitted the map, and then there was this bit, now drawn in red, was left, and we didn't know where it was. So it's Pedro's question: how do we know where it is? Well, we don't. And what we did to find out is to have the whole genome sequenced, because there's no sequence of this is an organism Polytomella. There was no genome sequence, so we had a sequence, and this would have been a huge undertaking, even 2 or 3 years ago. But now, all it takes is 3,000 euros and 3 weeks, and we have the 50 megawatts genome. And fortunately, by doing mass spec, we were able to pinpoint this little subunit here, and we were able to fit it. And this is what it looks like. It's an important one. It turns out it's a transmembrane unit, and it holds the dimer together in the membrane. This is the cross-section of the two monomers in the dimer, so they're very closely entwined. And this is the same thing in yeast. It looks very different. Same view in yeast. You have a very different arrangement of the subunit A, which has this loop, makes these hydrophobic contacts, which are much weaker, and for that reason, the yeast dimer and the human dimer is very much weaker than this one that we chose, especially for its rigidity and its suitability for cryo. So this is it, and again we resolve a number of substates into the 3 main rotary states, similar as in the chloroplast case, but each one is now separated into a number of substates. So 6 in state 1, 4 in state 2, 3 in state. These are probably not all of them, but these are the ones that come out of the analysis. And again, these are stills in the movie. You can put them together in a movie. And now, the astonishing thing is it no longer rotates smoothly as in the chloroplast, because we have different substates, and we can follow this movement now much more closely. You can see how the central stalk pushes the whole F1 head around until it gets stuck, can't go anymore, and then it recoils and starts the next power stroke. So that's a very different mechanism from the one you're probably used to in textbooks. This is published this year in Science. Very nice paper if you haven't Science read. This is the whole thing, side view. Again, you see this, it's not a continuous movement, it's a halting movement. It goes in fits and starts, it goes, sort of rotates over 30 degrees and gets stuck and then can't go on, and then it goes on, and then it recoils, and so this is really how this particular bit works, and we think it's really a common feature, because up here, what you see is what was the delta spinning chloroplast is now called the OCP in mitochondria. It's the same thing, it's the same, it's highly conserved. 1.5 billion years of evolution hasn't changed this protein. And if you look at it, it hinges. It forms a hinge, it connects the F1 head here to the peripheral stalk, which is rigid. So you need to have some sort of flexible link. People used to think it's either the central stalk, which is flexible in some way, but it's not, or the peripheral stalk, which actually, in this particular instance, it's the single polypeptide link in the 2 protein domains that performs the action of the link and buffers the symmetry mismatch. So you have a symmetry mismatch between the F1 head, which has a 3-fold symmetry, really, and the ring, which in this case has a 10-fold symmetry, and there's a symmetry mismatch. And people used to think it's the flexibility of the central stalk that allows this joint rotation, but it's not. It actually, in this case, the mismatch is taken up here by the flexibility of this subunit. Let me just carry on. So this is just in a nutshell the same thing. It's a 30-degree back and forth rotation. The ring rotates in without steps, and every 30 degrees the gamma unit catches, and then the F1 head recoils, and the whole thing is made possible by the flexibility of this subunit delta with the D up there. Right. Let me very quickly draw your attention to the ring itself, which is also very interesting. The O part, which actually lastly generates the torque that produces ATP. So this is now the high resolution, the super 7 angstrom map of the ring. And you have these two extraordinary helices, which we call parallel. They're not quite parallel, almost parallel to the membrane, but they're at right angles to the C ring helices. And this turns out to be a very essential part of any rotary ATP. So you have to have the right C ring helices that go one way, and this A in this case, helices which go at right angles. And the reason is that it creates a little window for the protons to go through. The protons, this is highly conserved. Again, 1.5 billion years haven't changed much. And the protons go in there through this gap. And then they come out of the other side, and there are two channels, which you'll see in a minute, and that's what drives really. So it's the glutamates are here; they are protonated by the protons come in, and then they become less hydrophilic, and then that enables them to partition into the membrane and rotate. And what we found, to our amazement, is there's a bound metal ion here. And this was unexpected, but it tells me the resolution is good enough to see unexpected metal ions in this proton channel. There it is. We think it's probably a zinc, we don't know, but and it's very ligand as well. And it changes coordination depending on the rotary position of the C ring. And this is also there in other structures. This is our chloroplast. Where the density we didn't know what it was. We now think it's a conserved ion binding site, and it's also there in yeast. So we think this has a central role. And interestingly, this is in Polytomera, which is our bark, if you will. It's a derivative of Chlamydomonas, so it's a green alga, but it has the same local environment as the human interface. And the interesting thing is that so this is the two channels, this is the access channel and the exit channel, and they are all exact distance apart, 6 angstroms edge to edge, 12 angstroms center to center, and this is really what it has been conserved, as I said, Dr. Planck, through 1.5 billion years of evolution. So this cannot change, and the reason why it's highly conserved is because these synthetases, they work with versions of all kinds of different sizes. So here are a number of them. This is mammalian mitochondria, this is bacterium, this is the one we've just seen. Polytomera happens to be the same in yeast and E. coli, it has a tenfold ring, but then there's others, and we just found one, not yet, just we found 2 years ago, one that was 17, with a cryo-EM map. And it needs to, this whole machine needs to fit these different rings. And what they have in common is to have the protonation sites in all rings are about 12 angstroms apart. And that fits this distance between the access and release channels very closely. And that's why it's so highly conserved, and that's how the whole machine can work. So this is what it is. So we have protons coming in, protons being blue in this case. They protonate the glutamates, in this case it's 14, because this is the chloroplast ring, which has 14 subunits, but the principle remains the same. They protonate the glutamates become less polar, they can partition into the hydrophobic while they are core until they encounter the exit channel, and then they diffuse off to the matrix or the stroma chloroplast where the pH is high. So they want to be there. They don't want to be here, but they want to be there more than here. And this is what drives rotation, right? Right. So this is the last slide. It's just a recent model builds of showing the rows of the dynamos and the complex one here, pumping protons into this confined space of the crystal, and then you synthase converting the proton gradient, the local proton gradient, into making EVP and the F1. Right. So at the end, this is the people who've done all this marvelous work. This is Jeanette, who's been with me for more than 20 years, and she's responsible for the processing of the FRH components. I've shown you first. I haven't shown you the toxins, which make amazing ring structures. Haven't shown you the 80 and slowly proton antibodies, which we're working on with David Wöhler. He used to be a crystallographer, and now, like most other people, he's a cryo-EM, and he now does the same thing as if by crystallography. 3.2 angstrom, 3 angstrom structures of antibodies, which are not very large by cryo-EM, 3.2 angstrom, so without crystals. This is Eduardo, I haven't shown you, synthase. Miller, I haven't shown you, had a nice paper with Paul Nissen on the glucose come out in Nature earlier this year. Also, I have shown you this is Tom complex, it's followed by this I have shown you briefly. It's Joanna, she comes from here, she's now in London. Perhaps you can attract her back. Good for you, good for her. Alex Hahn, this sauropod is together with Thomas Meyer, also in London now. Christian Pare, done complex 1 together with Robert Zickermann. Lea Dietrich, who's done MDM1 together with Rita Amke, and Pièce de Resistance is the protonal Bonnie Murphy, and Nicholas Bush, he's a postdoc, a master, he's a student from Frankfurt, and they work brilliantly together and have done this work together without arguing, which I think is amazing. And it wouldn't be possible without the microscopes, and they're run by Derek Mills here, modestly at the edge, but he should really be in the center. And because it was going so well, and there's so many projects, we asked Max Planck for money for another one, and we got it, so now we have 2. And this is important, because you need to have this for doing all this work and making very busy. So that's sorry we're over time, but we had quite a bit of discussion in the meantime, but perhaps there's even more questions now, so please go ahead.